But it sounds like you're saying, trust us. And are you worried that at some point Americans are going to feel like there's a bunch of billionaires in Washington who are playing Russian roulette with our retirement?
$2 trillion deficits don't bother you at all. How could you ask me, while we're running a $2 trillion deficit, and not care? You're destroying the people who have run this country before, are destroying the future for my children and my children's children. I can't have a 50, 75. We have a $36 trillion deficit. And we used to run deficits of 400 billion. Now 2 trillion, everybody's like, who cares? I tell you what, who cares? Donald Trump cares. And when we balance the budget, you know what that means? That means our deficits stop. Interest rates come smashing down. His goal is to have external revenue. You know, the way I think about it, we all are so used to paying taxes. We're so used to it. We have like Stockholm syndrome. You know, don't stop the Internal Revenue Service, God forbid. How about this? The rest of the world leans on our economy, breathes off our economy. Not only is our economy $29 trillion GDP, but we consume $20 trillion a year. We are the buyer of everybody's stuff. We buy everybody's stuff. So who's more important? The people who sell stuff or the people who buy stuff? So we are the buyer of everybody's commodities, products, goods and services. Everything comes from us, right? Let them pay a membership fee. We all understand that model. Let them pay. How about we, you and I, and every single person we know pay less? How about no tax on tips? How about no tax on overtime? How about no Social Security? How about all those things? These are the kind of thoughts that will change America. I know what his goal is. No tax for anybody who makes less than $150,000 a year. That's his goal. And that's what I'm working for.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Great America Show. It's great to have you with us. Listen to Howard Lutnick there. Say it straight, with a straight face, honestly, how it's going to be under this Trump administration. You heard there him conclude with President Trump ultimately wanting no tax on anyone making under $150,000 a year. Well, in 2023, statistics show that approximately 80% of households fall under that category. So how great would that be for the American people to put more money in their pockets from the federal government getting out of your lives, put more money into the pockets of the hardworking average American that breaks their back to make this country what it is, whether it be our blue-collar workers who fix our vehicles, our blue-collar workers who install and build skyscrapers and manage skyscrapers. They build the foundation of everything this country is on. Without blue-collar workers, this country is absolutely nothing. That's a guarantee. So the Marxist Dems, they want to have a meltdown about where the economy is going right now. And if you joined us yesterday for the Great America Show, we did a deep dive on where I think the economy is going. The day before yesterday, we spoke to a brilliant economist who says it's probably going to be a bumpy road for a short time, but in the end, it's all going to work the kinks out. Donald Trump wants to bring jobs back to America. He wants jobs back here. He wants onshore jobs back to this country. The truth of the matter is, folks, is we haven't had a trade surplus since 1975 in this country. What does that mean? It means since 1975, we brought in more imports than we've exported ourselves. So in layman's terms, what that means is we're reliant on the rest of the world for everything we buy, everything we get, and everything we do. These iPhones, we don't make them here in America. We don't do that. They're made overseas. Pretty much anything you do, this camera we're using, this computer we're using, all that, the computer you're using to watch us right now, chances are it wasn't made in America, maybe it's assembled in America, but not made in America. So Donald Trump's long game plan is to onshore those jobs, bring as much back to America as we possibly can, all at the same time cutting spending. He wants to cut trillions of dollars out of the GDP, out of the deficit. It's something that hasn't been done, which is why the markets are not favorably reacting to it. The markets like when we spend money. They like when wasteful spending is happening throughout this country. So, of course, they're going to react adversely, and that's fine. Wall Street's made enough money. It's time for Main Street to make some money. It's time for the blue collar, as I said, the hardworking average American who goes to work every day, working 40 hours, 60 hours, some cases 80 hours a week with overtime, To bring home, Bernie Sanders always wants to talk about fair share of taxes. How about it's time that the average American brings home their fair share of wage and doesn't have to give the government, in some cases, over 50% if you factor in a property tax if you own a house? How about that? How about working for a living and not giving away the majority of your paycheck to a federal government that wastes trillions of dollars a year, whether it be foreign aid for Ukraine, whether it be USAID dumping our monies into NGOs like the Catholic Charities or the Red Cross, harboring illegals, helping illegals come through this country. Think about that for a change, folks. To the naysayers and the Democrats who are joining us here today, think about that. Think about the fact of not giving away more than half of your paycheck and how nice it'll be and how great it'll be for America. We've also got some other good news, folks. Rosie O'Donnell announcing yesterday that she's fled America. Where'd she go? She's actually living in Ireland now, where she says it's safe for all citizens to live and they have all equal rights. And we're not going to play you the video of Rosie O'Donnell that she put out. I'll save you the 15 minutes that I wasted of my time earlier this morning watching her. But she seems a lot happier there, and good for her. America's not for you, Rosie. That's fine. It's not for everybody. They say if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. Apparently, you couldn't make it here. So President Trump was with the Prime Minister of Ireland yesterday, and he was actually asked about allowing Rosie to live in his country. Take a listen.
Ireland is known for very happy, fun-loving people. Great attitude, many in this room right now that I've met. Why in the world would you let Rosie O'Donnell move to Ireland? I think she's going to lower your happiness level.
That's true. Thank you. I like that question.
Mr. Prime Minister, are you expecting?
Do you know who she is?
Yeah. I'm joking.
You better off not knowing.
President Trump,
Oh, man. President Trump is totally brilliant when it comes to any sort of comedic response. Rosie O'Donnell, not a mentally sane lady. But you know what? I have to give credit where credit is due. In 2016, when Trump won, you had these Marxist Dems who said they were leaving the country if he won. So you know what? Hats off to those folks who have left the country. Ellen DeGeneres, another one. But I think she left for other reasons that we may soon find out. We'll leave it at that. So hats off to Rosie. Good for you. You left the country. You said you were going to do it. Congratulations. You're out of here. Folks, our guest today is the great Roger Stone, host of the Stone Zone each and every night, every weeknight, that is, 77 WABC, or you catch him on thestonezone.com. He joins us each and every week for a brilliant discussion on the politic at large, what's going on in this country, and how we're going to make it great again. Roger, as always, it's great to have you back on the Great America Show, our weekly date here, our weekly lunch date or evening dinner date. Thanks for joining us. I want to start with first, investigative journalist Roger Stone, adding some new things to the resume. Roger Stone forcing the Capitol Hill police chief into what he calls his retirement. Tell us what's going on there, Roger.
Sure, John. Great to be back with you. Yesterday on my 77 WABC radio show, The Stone Zone, I broke the news that a man was actually arrested with a gun inside the Capitol, in the very room where the president was prior to the State of the Union address, and that on a previous occasion, a man, a civilian, was also arrested and apprehended with a gun inside the Capitol the day that President Trump was sworn in the Capitol Rotunda. Once this news hit the wires, the police chief, Thomas Maynard, I believe his name is, resigned, saying that he was retiring. Now, I also disclosed that just prior to his becoming Capitol Hill police chief, he was a lobbyist and he got a $2.3 million grant from the Biden administration for one of his clients, L3. So this is a guy who's kind of been in charge of the cover-up operation regarding January 6th. Yeah. And in this case, within hours of our breaking that news, he was out of there.
The last police chief, or maybe second to last because they've had acting, but Chief Stephen Sund, I saw him not too long ago, a few weeks ago. I've spoken to him a few times since January 6th, and they did that man so royally dirty. You can go look at the text messages, the messages he sent up and down the chain of command, begging for people to come, begging for the Capitol Police to bring in the National Guard on January 6th. They got rid of him right away, no questions asked, and they completely tried to do him dirty. How does something like this happen? 2 failed assassination attempts on President Trump. He's now the president-elect at this point, the day of the swearing in. He's then the president when he goes to the State of the Union, or whatever we want to call it. How does a breach in security like this happen? And who is this man who was found with the gun?
We're still obviously digging into that. What's an even greater story is why is this nowhere in the mainstream media? Why does it fall to Roger Stone and John Fawcett to let people know? This is my number one concern. Donald Trump is such an existential threat to the established order. And he is cutting, first of all, at the heart of their money sources. Yeah. Elon Musk is not uncovering millions or billions of dollars. He's uncovering trillions of dollars of waste, fraud, and corruption. Just yesterday, I read about a $375 billion slush fund that was made available to John Podesta. You remember him. He was Hillary's campaign manager, then joined the Biden White House staff as the environmental czar, but essentially giving out money to environmental groups, some of them only a month old, some who had been incorporated a month prior to their getting millions of dollars. We both know that money was used in the election to try to fight President Donald Trump. So Musk is cutting right to the heart of the funding of all of these political activities, not to mention the fact that I still think we're going to find ultimately that some of that money that we sent to Ukraine, maybe a lot of that money that we sent to Ukraine, made its way into the offshore bank accounts of some who are in public office today. Yep. I don't want to say any names, Lindsey Graham. I don't want to mention any individuals, Nancy Pelosi. I don't want to call anybody out, Adam Schiff. But as you see, Elon has intimated this. Congressman Tim Burchett, who I think is a great MAGA congressman, a great champion of the taxpayers, and a great strong supporter of the president, has also intimated this. So, look, it remains to be seen. But I think that he has got the two-party duopoly tied in knots. I mean, they're apoplectic. They're hysterical because he's uncovering their corruption. John, I ask you the question. Who could be in favor of waste, fraud, and corruption? Who would be opposed to exposing waste, fraud, and corruption? The answer, I'm afraid, is only those who are involved in waste, fraud, and corruption.
Simple enough answer. You know, it's so scary, Rogers. You just gave an example I was on a show earlier this morning, and I said the same exact thing. I'm not going to name names, and I said the exact name, Lindsey Graham. That terrifies me that you and I have this same crazy thinking mindset. Brilliant, I must say.
I think this is significant because Lindsey Graham is now, for the first time in his career, facing a true viable challenge in the Republican primary in South Carolina. A businessman named Mark Lynch has stepped forward. He's put $5 million of his own money into his campaign to get it jump-started. It's an uphill fight in South Carolina. It wouldn't be an uphill fight if the primary was closed to Republicans only, but because it is an open primary in which anyone of any party or no party at all can vote in the Republican Party, the fear is that liberals and Democrats and others who realize that the Democrat nominee has little chance to win in a general election will cross over into the Republican Party to try to save Lindsey Graham. There will be a move in the legislature where Republicans do have power to try to close the primary, but it's not clear whether Governor Henry McMaster, one of President Trump's earliest and most loyal supporters, would sign such legislation.
Before we go, I want to go back to the Doge thing, but before we go to that, you bring up such a good point. The other day, Donald Trump taking to Twitter to go after Thomas Massie. Now, whatever his beef is with Thomas Massie's a small fish in a big pond. He's one of 435. He doesn't control much. You had mentioned Lindsey Graham. Those are the people who are part of the problem. I know your friend Susan Collins up there. Another one, part of the problem, Lisa Murkowski. Why does Donald Trump, and this is like one of the very few things, Roger, I take issue with him on, there's like 0.01% of the things, and this is one of them. Why does he back guys like Lindsey? Why does he continue to put up with people like Murkowski or Susan Collins? They're the real threat. Thomas Massie out in Kentucky, a man who doesn't like CRs, is against government spending, whatever he is, okay, he's one of 435. What about these senators who are actually the real problem?
Well, I don't think that the president is particularly close to Lisa Murkowski, and she's only there in Alaska because they have ranked choice voting, which is this completely convoluted system in which the candidate who gets the most votes is not elected to the U.S. Senate.
Right.
It's really bizarre. If we had an hour and 45 minutes, I'd explain it to you, but unfortunately, we don't.
I get it.
Nor do I think he's particularly close to Susan Collins, although in Collins' defense, she voted for Robert Kennedy. She voted for Tulsi Gabbard. She voted in favor of Pam Bondi. She voted in favor of Scott Bessent. So among the president's most important appointments, she supported them. I have to assume with Lindsey Graham, this is a case of keeping your friends close and your enemies closer. I have little doubt that if Lindsey Graham was no longer a U.S. Senator, Donald Trump wouldn't return his phone calls.
Probably true. But the problem, Roger, that I take such issue with that is that we can't continue to support people who only screw us 50% of the time. And it's the same thing why Susan Collins got the pass last time, right? Because she voted for Kavanaugh. It was a political choice on her part because she knew she was committing political suicide. But when push comes to shove, when it comes time to major legislation, she's nowhere to be found. What do you think?
Look, that is something that will have to be settled in Republican primaries. But in all honesty, Susan Collins, who I like, by the way, as a person, I've known her a long time. Her politics are not mine, obviously, but you are not going to get somebody more conservative in Maine who can win statewide. You're just not. So you could defeat her in a primary, in which case you'll get an all-out leftist Democrat who votes with us 0% of the time. I think it was Ronald Reagan who said, I'd rather have part of the loaf than none of the loaf. It is a harsh reality about the way Maine, once one of the most Republican states in the country, 1936, Alf Landon only carried 2 states, Vermont and Maine, now reliably blue state.
Yeah, it's true. I'm just so annoyed at it and so tired of it. I want to take a quick break here. I want to come back. I've got some news for you that you might find appalling about Doge. And where Elon Musk, some of his latest uncoverings on where he just found $312 million. You're not going to expect where I'm about to tell you. We're coming right back with Roger Stone, host of the Stone Zone, each and every night, 8 p.m. StoneZone.com. If you're in the New York tri-state or a few other markets, you catch him on 77 WABC each and every night, 8 p.m. We're coming right back with Roger. Stay with us.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. You know, I've got all your MyPillow products. Mattress topper, bed sheets, MyPillows, towels, slippers, blankets.
I'm interrupting this commercial to do something I've never done before. Get 2 MyPillows absolutely free on orders of $100 or more. I can't do this forever, so get on board with this great sale today. Our best-selling 6-piece bath towel sets or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Our famous standard MyPillows only $14.98. Queens $18.98. King size only $1 more. Body pillows $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color. So go to MyPillow.com or call that number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And when you spend $100 or more, get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
Folks, we're back with the great Roger Stone, our favorite weekly guest here for our weekly evening date. Roger, you can catch him each and every night now on 77 WABC, StoneZone.com, 77 WABC. As I said, each and every night, 8 Eastern time on your radio dial. That's what you used to use back in the day, right, Roger?
Yeah, look, I love doing radio. First of all, I have a face for radio. But the great thing is 77 WABC is the most powerful AM radio signal in the country.
Yeah.
But no matter where you are in the country, you can listen live at WABCradio.com, WABCradio.com. That's the best place to go, 8 o'clock Eastern every night.
I got to say, it's honestly relaxing getting into a car sometimes listening to AM radio. It's soothing. So I want to turn to what we were talking about before we went to break. Doge, Elon Musk uncovering $312 million in loan payments. You ready? The SBA, Small Business Association Administration, granted almost 6,000 loans totaling $312 billion to individuals listed as 11 years old or younger during the COVID-19 pandemic or the China virus from 2020 to 2021. Doge also found that the SBA also included almost 3,000 loans for $333 million to borrowers over 115 years old, including one individual listed as 157 years old who received $36,000 in loans. So back to the question you asked me, who is not in favor of getting rid of this stuff?
Yeah, it's incredible. I saw a video of Bernie Sanders the other day, and Sanders is saying, this is ridiculous. Nobody who's 150 years old is getting Social Security checks and cashing them. No shit, Sherlock. The point here, of course, is that somebody is cashing those checks. So, in other words, someone has used a fake Social Security number or used a false identity to collect this money. That's corruption and waste. But the senator doesn't seem to want to get it. Now, Bernie and his wife skimmed millions of dollars off of his 2 presidential campaigns in media commissions. That's not illegal, but it radically changed Comrade Bernie's economic status. You'll notice they used to attack billionaires and millionaires. Now he only attacks billionaires. That's because Bernie is a millionaire. So in other words, John, socialism for thee, but not for Comrade Bernie.
Totally idiotic. These Democrats are trying to ruin our country. They successfully ruined our country. I want to talk about the economy a little bit. Now, neither you or I are economists, but we're common sense people, and we do a little bit of reading. The Democrats want to talk about the economy and that tariffs are ruining this economy. The truth of the matter is, Roger, what's also taking effect on the stock market and the economy right now is the fact that Doge and Elon Musk and Scott Bessent and Howard Lutnick want to cut $1 trillion out of the GDP. They want to cut $1 trillion of spending. That's massive, Roger, because for years they talked about Social Security and cutting Social Security and changing the retirement age and cutting Medicare and cutting Medicaid. Well, I'm under the impression that there is so much government fraud, Roger, that's ripe inside the government right now that we may not even have to touch these entitlements if we can get to the bottom of how much fraud and abuse is going on in the government. What's your thoughts?
Look, I agree with you. The president has been talking recently about balancing the federal budget. We have not had a balanced federal budget since Dwight Eisenhower was president. And I think the president's very serious about this. Now, normally you would say, well, that's not possible, but it is possible. First of all, you have Robert Reich. You remember him. He was the labor secretary under Bill Clinton. I actually went to high school with him, John Jay High School, Katona, New York. He was a smart ass then. He's a smart ass now. Frankly, I've had it up to here with Robert Reich. But Reich was on X the other night saying that the supply side oriented tax cuts had caused the inflation and the deep debt that we have, which of course is nonsense. It doesn't matter which candidate, which president cut taxes across the board, whether it was John Kennedy, whether it was Ronald Reagan, or whether it was Donald Trump. In every case, federal revenues went up after an across-the-board tax cut, not down. That means that the deficits and the inflation are caused by spending too much. We have a spending problem. We don't have a problem that the working people of this country are taxed too little. That's not the problem. So I do think, as the president said, and as the Secretary of the Treasury said, we're going to go through a period of dislocation here. The question, of course, there's 2 points. One, Donald Trump doesn't have to run for re-election and doesn't have any plans to do so, obviously. The Constitution is pretty clear. Somebody should tell Steve Bannon this. A person can only be elected president for 2 terms. They don't have to be 2 consecutive terms, but there is a 2-term limit. In fact, the Constitution also says that if a person serves more than 2 years of somebody else's term, as, for example, Lyndon Johnson filling more than 3 years of John Kennedy's term, they're not eligible to run for more than one other term. So LBJ could have run in 1968, but could not have run again in 1972. In any event, the president, I think, is free from the pressures of being a potential candidate for president again. And as for the midterms, what matters is not what the stock market is doing today, not what the economy is doing today. What will matter is what the economy is doing a year and a half from now. And frankly, I think given the president's commitment to energy independence and bringing down energy prices, I think his commitment to deeply cutting federal spending in the form of waste, fraud, and corruption, and renewal of the Trump tax cuts, I think there's a strong chance that you could have a boom economy by the time we get to the midterms.
And Roger, for the Marxist Dems or the Democrats who want to watch the show and who watch every night, and there's a lot of them who do, I hope they're learning something. The fact of the matter is I'm not going to sit here and defend Trump through a recession or go after Biden for having a recession. The fact of the matter is that there's two different reasons for it. Biden's was self-made and self-created by offshoring jobs, by cutting drilling here in America. There's a plethora of things and reasons why Joe Biden had this economy going through the floor. Now, President Trump says whether you were classified as a recession or a correction, whatever you want to call it, is there's a means to an end, Roger. The last time the United States had a trade surplus, which means our exports exceed our imports, which means we're putting out more than we're giving in, was 1975. That's 50 years, Roger, was the last time we did something like that, which means the United States is reliant on every other country for everything we bring into this country, whether it be 85% of our pharmaceuticals, whether it be our PPE during the China virus, whether it be our car parts, whether it be textiles. It's everything because America is not as innovative as it was once before. And it's because of people like Joe Biden and Barack Hussein Obama and Bill Clinton, who offshored all of our jobs over the last 25, 30 years. And now it's up to someone to bring them back. So this is a fight with a means to the end. If we have to go through tumultuous times for 6 months to a year, Wall Street can wait. They've made enough money. It's time for Main Street to start making money, Roger. That small guy who owns the cigar shop, the small guy who owns the pizzeria, our buddy Steve Martirano who owns the restaurant down by you in Fort Lauderdale, the greatest Italian restaurant in my opinion. It's time for these people to recuperate some of the money they've lost from inflation. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I think Cafe Europa in Fort Lauderdale could be the greatest Italian restaurant. But I think Martirano's is a close second. There used to be a place called Macaluso's in Miami Beach that was right up there. Sadly, no longer with us. I went to the Miami Beach branch of Rayo's the other night, and I must tell you, it was excellent. Not that I love Italian food, but I'm kind of like Sinatra. There's three choices for dinner every night: Italian, Italian, or Italian. I agree with you, but that was the whole point of the last election. Donald Trump has changed the face of the Republican Party. We're no longer the party of Wall Street, no longer the party of the financial elites, no longer the party of the country club, no longer certainly the party of the billionaires. So we are now, as you have had historically, remade the party in the image of its leader. We are the party of the middle class. Yep. We're the party of working families, and that's who Trump is going to stand up for. The tariffs, I think, are frankly a cudgel that he's using to get better trade deals. Yep. And although everybody screams at the beginning, you've seen country after country after country fold and make a better deal with us. To Donald Trump, a good trade deal is a deal in which both trading partners benefit, yep. Not a trade deal in which it's one-sided and our trading partners have the only benefit. And show slowly but surely the threat of tariffs is working to bring our trading partners to the table and get them to make a better deal.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I want to take one more quick break here. We're going to come back with Roger. We've got some economic indicators for you when we return after President Trump's first month in office on how he's doing, how inflation's looking. And there's some countries now who are already folding with the tariffs. Tariffs haven't even gone into effect till April 1st. And there's countries already saying, we're waving the white flag. We're not going to fight you. We're coming right back with Roger, folks. Stay with us.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. and I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard My Pillows absolutely free.
Folks, we're back with the great Roger Stone, host of the Stone Zone. Catch him each and every night, stonezone.com, WABC.com, or on your radio dial for the Stone Zone, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Roger, some economic indicators out today that inflation is not growing at a rate that the Marxist Dems would have liked to see it continue to climb at. CNN faced with the reality. Take a listen.
Finally, we have some good news on the economy and really the number one issue for many Americans, the cost of living. So we just learned that consumer prices in February increased by 2.8% year over year, 0.2% month over month. Both of these figures were a step in the right direction, and both were better than expected. So this is definitely very encouraging to see, because it's going to, I think, relieve some fears that inflation was perhaps re-accelerating, because this actually breaks a streak of 4 straight months where I think you could see it on the chart all the way to the right, where the inflation rate was going in the wrong direction, right? It was going higher and higher. Finally, we're seeing it dip.
So which one is it, Roger? Is the economy going in the right direction or the wrong direction? And perhaps inflation's going down because spending is going to start to be cut. Your thoughts?
I think you hit it on the head. First of all, we also had job numbers just the other day, and the job numbers are also sharply up. Look, it's going to take some time to recover from the massive spending and printing of money under Joe Biden. And we still have an out-of-control Federal Reserve that just prints money like there's no tomorrow. But clearly, this is actually a more important, those two indicators, job creation and cost of living, more important indicators than the stock market. The stock market is, as you know, is extremely volatile. It can go up or down very quickly on the basis of any kind of news. I don't think it's the best indicator of the health of the economy on any one given day. The president's not concerned about the stock market sell-off, so frankly, I'm not concerned either.
Yeah, Donald Trump bought a Tesla yesterday. The stock was up $10. Today it's up another almost $20. So, and Donald Trump's known for that, to put out one single tweet and the thing goes through the roof. You look at crypto. He put out a tweet about the crypto reserves. Crypto went right back up. I won't be satisfied, Roger, with job numbers until we start seeing negative job numbers from inside the federal government. But the Democrats, they want it both ways, Rogers. They want to tell us one day that Donald Trump's doing too much on the border or too much to the economy, and then he's not doing enough. Hakeem Jeffries, who I'll use your saying, if he had one IQ point lower, you'd have to water him like a plant, telling him that Donald Trump doesn't care about the border, doesn't care about fixing things like that. Take a listen.
National security interests. Look, what we've seen from the Trump administration over the last several weeks is just a flood of unprecedented extremism and a parade of horribles that continue to be unleashed on the American people. While at the same time, the Trump administration is not focused on solving the problems of everyday Americans. We're continuing to make sure that we focus on trying to make life better for everyday Americans. Fundamentally, that's why we were sent to Washington, D.C. We have to drive down the high cost of living. We have to secure the border. We have to keep communities safe. We have to protect our dreamers and farm workers and families. These are the things that matter, as opposed to creating crisis-like moments when we should be coming together and demonstrating leadership for the free world.
As you know,
now all of a sudden, Hakeem Jeffries cares about the farmers, Roger. He cares about the border. He cares about all these things that they had 4.5 years to fix. Border numbers are at historic lows, Roger. A report out today, arrests are down 97% at the southern border. So which one is it, Hakeem? Which one is it, Marxist Dems? Is he doing too bad for the economy? Is he doing too good?
This is a textbook example of Alinsky's rules. So anything Democrats accuse you of is always exactly what they themselves are doing. It's kind of like Christopher Wray saying that if Kash Patel is appointed the head of the FBI, then the FBI's nonpartisan, unbiased, pristine reputation will be ruined because Kash Patel will politicize the agency. In other words, everything's exactly the opposite. Their great fear is that Kash Patel will clean house and take the politics out of the FBI. Perfect example. In this case, Hakeem Jeffries supported the open borders policies of Joe Biden, which gave the country a crime epidemic, a fentanyl epidemic, and massive fiscal problems as states and counties grappled with paying for social services for this huge influx of illegals, in some cases cutting services on Americans in order to do so because a state law, for example, in New York, requires that. So Trump, I saw a statistic that just illegal crossings are down 93%. Yeah. By the way, John, this also proves what President Trump has said throughout the campaign. Remember, Biden kept saying, there's nothing I can do. My hands are tied. We need new laws. We need the Lankford bill. Well, Lankford's bill grandfathered 2.5 million illegals into the country every year. That wasn't a border security bill. That was an open borders bill. It did provide more funding to process the illegals coming into the country. It was a disaster. But they went through an entire campaign insisting that Trump was opposed to sealing the border because he opposed Lankford's disastrous bill.
Right.
It is these people are a joke. They don't know what to run on. There's a special election, as you may know, coming up in upstate New York. It's District 21, but to New Yorkers, it's known as the North Country. Yeah. This is a seat currently occupied by Elise Stefanik, who's vacating it because the president has appointed her to the United Nations, one of his better appointments, in my opinion, one of his best appointments. The election has not yet been called because she has not yet resigned from the House. That's because we only control the House really by 3 votes on paper, but by 1 vote because 2 seats in Florida are vacant because of the resignation of Matt Gaetz and Mike Waltz. Yeah. That special election happens in mid-April. But the Democrat candidate in this district, I won't even say his name because I don't want to give him publicity, but he's running on closing the border and ferreting out the waste, fraud, and corruption from federal spending. He's running as a de facto Republican. And in his advertising, nowhere does he mention that he's a Democrat. And he also doesn't mention that his campaign coffers overnight are filled to the brim with $2 million that came from Hakeem Jeffries and AOC and Nancy Pelosi and the rest of the House radical Democrats. So the Democrats are having an identity crisis. Talk today that Rahm Emanuel, the former chief of staff to President Barack Obama, is openly talking about the possibility of his running for president as a Democrat. Generally, now he was the mayor of Chicago, but in all honesty, when staffers start talking about running for president, I think that's pretty scary. Gives you some idea how little talent there is in the Democrat Party.
Yeah, Rahm Emanuel, one of the low-life scum involved in Rod Blagojevich's takedown of him. Total travesty of justice. But it's just the same names that keep getting recirculated. The man you were talking about upstate running, Anthony Cosentino, I actually got a text message yesterday. He wants to come on the show. So in the next few weeks, we're going to bring him on the show for the American people in the audience up in Western New York to get his sense of view and what he wants to do in Congress. Before we turn to a little foreign policy, I want to hit on one more thing with the tariffs. Some news. Brazil's Lula, the United Kingdom, and Australia already caving on tariffs. The reciprocal tariffs haven't went into effect until April. They're going on April 1st. They're already saying we're not going to fight them because they know they're robbing us blindfolded, and our leaders are total idiots, and they've gotten away with it. So good on President Trump. I want to turn now to, before we get to Greenland and the news there, Russia, a place you know very well, Roger. You're a Russian asset, right? A Russian colluder, a Russian vodka drinker, all that good stuff. So I want to get your take on this because Donald Trump himself is also an agent of Russia. Now, I want to tell you something because this is on the front page of the Daily Mail right now. The headline reads, Trump threatens Putin with devastating punishment if he doesn't accept Ukraine's ceasefire. What kind of Russian agent would talk to their boss like that, Roger? Donald Trump says, quote, real quick, Donald Trump says, quote, there are things that wouldn't be pleasant in a financial sense. I can do things financially that would be very bad for Russia. I don't want to do that because I want to get peace. Now, this is Donald Trump, the Russian agent, going after his boss, Putin. I don't know who does that because you get killed if you do that, Roger.
Yeah, I'm reading from the President Trump's Truth Social post saying, based on the fact that Russia absolutely is pounding Ukraine on the battlefield right now, I'm strongly considering large-scale banking sanctions, sanctions and tariffs on Russia until a ceasefire and final settlement agreement on peace is reached. To Russia and Ukraine, get to the table right now before it is too late.
Right. So President Trump, the dictator, the Russian puppet, right? That's no way you speak to your master, by the way. But it just goes to show you, Roger, that Donald Trump, all he cares about is peace. He doesn't want any money. He doesn't want any. He just wants peace. For him to be going after Russia, making a statement like that is pretty damn bold, considering Zelensky's the one who's fired up this war the whole entire way. NATO is the one who's provoked this war for the last 40 years, continuing 30 years, continuing to step on Putin. I did a whole show on this yesterday, 2007. Putin came out and said, enough's enough, guys. You said you weren't moving NATO any closer east since Germany. And then you've added Finland, you've added Croatia, you've added all these other countries on my border. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah, I think you've hit this on the head. Trump understands it takes two to tango. You can't have one-sided peace talks. He's now finally, I think, with the announcement of the ceasefire yesterday, he's gotten Zelensky to the table. Now he has to get the Russians, who supposedly he's in the pocket of, which is an absurdity, to the table. I mean, John, he's the consummate deal maker. This is the art of the deal. He ran as a peace candidate. He's going to resolve this war. The truth is, both sides are tired of the fighting, tired of the killing. And this is pretty tough talk for the Russians. If they have any thought about not cooperating with the president's peace initiative. So he's not on either side. No. NATO is an ally of ours, but you're right. We agreed twice in the Budapest Memorandum signed by Secretary of State James Baker, and again in the Minsk Accords, not to push Ukraine into NATO. It's because Ukraine is on the Russian border, and they don't want NATO missiles, which are really Western missiles that we unfortunately would pay for, on the ground pointed at Russia. This is no different than 1962 when Nikita Khrushchev put Russian missiles on Cuba, pointed at the United States. John Kennedy, our president, and the national security state did not react well to that. It was a provocative threat, just as this is a provocative threat.
Yeah, and if you see there on the screen there, Roger, we've got Germany right here, in which he pledged, NATO pledged not to move any further east. Since then, we've got Romania, you've got Greece, you've got Turkey, you've got Poland, you've got Lithuania, you've got Latvia, you've got Finland, you've got Sweden, you've got Norway, bordering all up against, just waiting on Belarus and Ukraine. Ukraine's right there, which was the reason this whole thing started in the first place, wanting membership into NATO, and that puts ostensibly on the border with his country. It's like the same thing happening if Canada or Mexico would have done it to us. We wouldn't be happy. Real quick before we wrap up here, Greenland electing some new leadership over there, a little bit further right, centrist. They want their independence from Denmark. What does that mean for Donald Trump and America, as he kind of wants to make a deal and bring some unity between Greenland and America?
Well, John, first of all, I want to categorically deny that I am a candidate for the governorship of Greenland. It's absolutely untrue. I think if you had a vote in Greenland today of the people, you would find that there is widespread popular support for joining the United States. Denmark really doesn't do much for them and cannot protect them, whereas we could protect them. And I think we could make their economy boom and improve the quality of life for everybody in the country. Add to the fact that there's economic benefit to them. There's national security benefit to us. So frankly, it's another example of Donald Trump pursuing a common sense solution to an issue, a common sense move by the United States. I think it's brilliant, but anybody who thinks the president is joking, I mean, when he talks about making Canada the 52nd state, I mean, we both understand that's a joke at Justin Trudeau's expense. I think it's pretty funny myself, but it's a joke, folks. Try to relax if you're a Canadian. He's only joking. Maybe you don't get the joke. But when it comes to Greenland, I think he's quite serious. This isn't a joke. It would be in the best interests of the people of Greenland. I say let them determine their own future. I'm for self-determination.
Yeah. And you had said America, it brings the prospect of America protecting them. If you don't believe that America would go out on them and protect them, go look at how much money we've given Ukraine. And they have absolutely no relation to us. And they're the most corrupt country over in Europe. So take that for what it's worth. Roger, you get the last word here. Until next week.
John, what a great time to be alive. We are indeed in a golden age. This is the age of Trump, an unprecedented age of peace, prosperity, security, justice, and law and order. We'll see you next week.
Roger, you're the man. Every night you can catch Roger, 8 p.m., 77 WABC, stonezone.com. Find Roger there. Roger, we'll see you next week.
Many thanks.
Thanks, everybody, for being with us today here on the Great America Show. We appreciate you joining us each and every day and joining us each and every week for our interview with the great Roger Stone. And like I said, you can join him each and every night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 77WABC.com or thestonezone.com. You can catch him there each and every day, every weekday, that is. Folks, we'll see you back here tomorrow for the Great America Show, where our quest for truth, justice, and the American way continues. Until then, may God bless you, may God bless America, and may God bless the great Lou Dobbs. See you tomorrow.